Just finished the script for this video. Today I'm gonna talk about the 7-14mm F2.8 zoom lens. Stick around to find out what I think about it. Hi there, I'm Peter Forsgaard, an Olympus visionary professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start talking about the 7-14mm F2.8 Pro zoom lens, please consider to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you get notified when there is a new video online. My channel is all about you getting to be a better photographer. And remember, I post 2 videos a week. But let's get into the lens. And first I have to say that this lens is my own lens. I bought it a few years ago. And this video is not sponsored by Olympus by any means. And as I always said before, that they don't tell me what videos I should do. They only lend me stuff if I ask them for something to do a video about. But as I said, this lens is my own. To be honest, this lens is actually one of those lenses that is good to have. I went through the images that I have been shooting with this lens for this video and realized that I haven't really made so many images with that I thought that I had made. But the reason is that this lens has been a very important lens for me in my gigs, because there are lots of images and situations that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have this lens. So in that sense, it's a very essential lens. And when I say it's good to have lens, it's one of those things that pros have. We need stuff that we don't use that often. So of course you could borrow or rent one of these, but of course, okay, first of all, in Finland we don't have that many rental companies that rent Micro Four Thirds gear for photography. And it's always a hassle to go get one because you never know when you need it. So it's a good thing to have in a bag, even though you don't need it that much. But it can be a saver or save your gig when you have this in your bag. So in that sense, it's a good to have lens. The things that I have used this lens are mainly interior shots, landscapes, cityscapes, and then venues and seminars where there are a lot of people and really tight spots to make images where, let's say that 12-40mm is not wide enough, then I can use the 7mm. But since we have such a wide angle, we always need to check out how the edges of the image are. And here are some examples. I just took a picture of sky. Here you can see how much there is vignetting, for example. Not very bad, and it usually gets away when you stop down a notch. And the distortion, of course there is a bit distortion in the edges of the frame. That usually isn't a big of a problem. It depends on what you're shooting. If you're doing cityscapes or you're having people in the shots, try not to have anything really big things that have big details right in the edge of the frame, because it will be a bit distorted, of course, when it's just such a wide angle. And here are some specs of the lens. As I said in the beginning, the focal length is from 7mm to 14mm, and here is the difference. Okay, this one is taken with the 7mm and this is 14, and there you can see the difference. It's quite big, so this is a very good wide angle zoom lens. And the lens cap is a bit different than usually. It slides on top of the lens hood, which is actually built in, so which is very good to have. Because there are 2 things that this is very useful for, especially with this lens. First is that it will block some light so it will keep the front element in the shadow, so there won't be any flares if you don't want them. And then, because when you zoom it out, you can see that the front element is quite bulky and a round one. And this will also protect the front lens from getting hits. So in that sense, the lens hood or the lens hood is very important. This lens is quite a lot used in landscapes, but it doesn't have any filter threads in front because it's such a wide angle. So you need a special filter holder for this. And usually those are a bit expensive because they are not, something that are sold that much. What I have is a Haida 150mm filter holder with the adapter for this lens, and it slides on top of the lens hood. The good thing about this is that then you can have the filters, but the downside is that you need really big filters, which of course are more expensive than small regular filters that screws on the lens. And then there is another downside on the big filter holder that you have on front of the lens is that if you use this as a landscape lens and you are out there, let's say by the sea, and there's a lot of wind, the filter adapter will grab some wind, so it might make the camera shake, and you can get some blurry images if you have a really big filter here. So what you need is a very sturdy tripod if you are shooting with the filter holder and with the filters in a very windy conditions. It could be a very wise thing if they had a version of this lens that there would be a filter holder in the back of a lens, which some really ultra wide angle lenses have, and that could be probably a good option. And then another good thing could be the filters that somebody is making. I think it's in Germany, somebody's making filters that can be put in front of the sensor, so it's inside here somehow. I've never tested those, so I don't have any experience on those, but those are really interesting. If any of you have tested those, please let me know, and the viewers know how they work. The downside on those are that they are not very easy to change. If you have the lens in front of the filter in front of the lens, it's easier to change. So in that sense, that could be a better solution to have it in top of here. But then there is the wind, as I said. But enough of talk. Let's look at some images that I've taken this over the years. And as you can see, it's very good for vlogging too. 7mm focal length is very good for this. You have plenty of room outside here. The only problem with vlogging with this camera is that you don't get to use the ND filters that easily. So I need to stop down quite a bit when it's so sunny, and now it's still, I think it's a bit overexposed anyways. But as an example, you can see that it works for vlogging also. And then how does this feel in my hand? I have the EM1X here, and as you can see, I can't hold it here because it will tilt. It is very heavy in the front. So with this, when I have it in my hand, it works nicely. No problem with that. It's really very balanced with this body. But if you have a smaller Micro Four Thirds body, then this is a bit heavy and might be a bit awkward to have in your hand. So, but then of course, if you do cityscapes and landscapes and use tripod, then it's not a problem if you don't have to hold it in your hand for long times. As all the M.Zuiko Pro line lenses, also this one is weatherproof, splash proof, and freeze proof. It is the third one. And if that's important for you, then this is a really good option if you are in a market for a wide angle zoom. The other one that you might consider, which is not that expensive, because this one is 1,300 euros or dollars, which is not that expensive for this quality lens, but 1,300 I mean is a lot of money. And then there is the 9 to 18mm option, which is also a quite good lens, and I've made a video about it. I think it was last August, about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. I made a video about that when I visited Kuressaaren Saaremaa in Estonia. You might want to check that if you are more into that lens. That lens has its advantages over this one, but if you need the weatherproof and all that, then definitely this one is the lens for you. This lens was actually introduced in 2015, and one great thing about lenses are that they don't get too old. They age really well. But of course, like camera bodies, a 4-year-old camera could be totally outdated, but a lens that's 4 years old is practically brand new. So in that sense, investing in a lens rather than a new body is actually quite wise. These hold their price, and also they are still good after, let's say, about 10 years. They could be still totally valid to use. And next you might want to watch these two videos. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.